This conversation is inspired by books and principles from the likes of reality transurfing, the Kybalion, and so on. It has to do with my recent dead end when I was programming. I couldn't move past that point, nor did I want to have all my time wasted on it and start again from the beginning. What I did is that I stopped for a moment, disconnected from the current situation, and had a 50-minute nap, something like that. So these short naps, I think they're called sometimes power naps. They're different from the long ones. The long naps that take over 1 hour, you don't recollect much of what happens in those naps, whereas the short naps you actually remember. And so what I did through that nap is that I wasn't going to start thinking about solution for the problem. What I did instead is that I envisioned myself or a version of myself working on the laptop and solving the problem. That's as much as I could think about at that moment. And it was clear to me that version of myself that is working on the laptop. It was blurry a bit, but nonetheless, it was present. It's not as if I wasn't looking or envisioning a version of myself working on the laptop. This is through the nap, of course. No logic, nothing to do with that. And I say that because programming requires that. The solution that I'm trying to come up with requires that. But I did none of it. I just envisioned a version of myself that did that. And it worked. Just a shift of perspective. I went on and worked on the issue and it was solved. But what I was wondering after that is that there's a difference between envisioning yourself as a first person viewer through your eyes, solving the problem or manifesting your desired outcome or reality, compared to envisioning yourself in that reality. So what is the difference? Why is it that is there actually a difference to begin with? And the simple answer is that they both work. I'm not quite sure about this information that I'm going to share just right now, which is that I saw somewhere where it depends on the genetic side how visualizing work, where some countries, maybe the Communist Party type of countries, they would visualize better in 3D rather than being the person in that reality. Whereas the countries, the people from the countries which are more about doing things themselves, and yeah, that's a thing. I don't know if it's real, if it's something that I that I've seen in a website or somewhere. And you sometimes hear this as in the manifestation sphere or the spiritual spheres and so on. You hear tricks like imagine someone congratulating you with words, and basically you're putting yourself in the place of someone else that is looking at you successful. And so I'm trying to make sense of this. Why would the second version work too? So we can all agree that the first version, in which you are the experiencer of the reality and you envision that reality, you feel it, you you know every detail about that reality and you try to envision it. And then somehow, some way, it becomes a reality. I'm gonna try and make sense of it. The second one, why it works. So I've got here a website, a thread on Reddit which asks, why can't matter manifest life or mind? And that's part of the answer of what I'm talking about right now. This one too, I don't know if it's true or not, but you can look that on the internet and I'm sure that there's a version of it that's quite similar. But they say that there's always a spider in your radius of 4 meters, 5 meters. There's always a insect near you. There's always a living thing around you. In this room, if I turn around and look, I might not find a spider, but I'm sure there's one. And so you see this sometimes in movies where there's a crow or a bird that is looking with his eyes, and then that information is transmitted to someone else that is connected to that creature. And that's how we make sense of it. That when I was envisioning that version of myself that succeeded in breaking through that issue that I couldn't solve, that I was looking at it through another living thing in another reality. Imagine if there's in this physical reality always a spider at 5 meters of your radius, then alright, so ChatGPT had enough of my delusions. But imagine if near you there's always a spider. There's probably more chances to find another one near an alternative version of you, which will be observing you, perceiving you, and that's what you're connecting to when you're envisioning your successful version of reality. And just quickly before I end this one, in the book The Kybalion, there's a distinction between what makes up the all or everything, being matter and life. Now, this is really the part that's delusional, which believes 100% in the alternative realities. At this exact moment, there's a version of me that's going to be continuing to speak. There's a version of me that's going to receive a phone call. There's a version of me that's going to be standing and opening the window behind. There's an unlimited amount of versions of me. In the same way, think of the closest person to you in your family or friend or whatever. That person is too having unlimited amount of versions of themselves. And whenever you interact with them, whenever at every fraction of existence, there's always versions of them that are coming and leaving. There's no one particular version of them that is staying from the first time you know of that person till the end. This is a bit disheartening if you really think about it. But this is the way I make sense of all of this. All the multiplicity of reality theory and everything. There's that. The fact that the living, or which is in here, life or mind, are the ones which have free will. And that is what controls this suit of a body, which I have stated this before in other videos. This physical body is containing things that in a matter of seconds they will no longer be alive. Like if we consider bones, for instance, they're not the thing that you would consider alive, but there's a part of me and a part of you and a part of every living creature that is what's alive. And so I'm in the first floor right now. If this ground isn't consistent across multiple realities, if I can say so, then I would be falling. Then this ground wouldn't be dense. But the living things, they get to have free will to do all this stuff. They get to control the suits again that they embody, which are the flesh, bones, and so on. Imagine if this ground that I am standing on decided to have free will and change where it's at, go somewhere else, then I would fall. So yeah, there's things that are consistent throughout all the realities, which makes me and the other versions of me, the one that is sitting in front of this laptop, the one that's going to go and open the window, the one that's going to receive a phone call, all of these versions doing their thing. And so yeah, thank you for watching this video. I hope you got something from it, and see you on the next one. Actually, I forgot to mention something really important, is that the multiplicity of reality realm, or the multiverse, the alternative space, the infinite dream world, the infinite skies, whatever we call them, as well as the physical earth, are what God sees. All of that is perceived by God. When I was visualizing a successful version of myself, I was only limited to that. So imagine what it is to perceive all of this.